For loops in Java, as well as other languages, continually run until a condition is false. You can see from this code that the for loop has three main parts: the initialize step, which in this case is int I equals 0, the condition, which in this case is I less than or equal to 10, finally, the modify step, which again in this case is I++. In this code, and more generally for for loops in Java and similar languages, the int I equals 0 runs first and only once, then it checks the condition if I is still less than or equal to 10. If so, then it runs the code inside the loop body, which prints out the value of I. At the end of each run of the loop, I is incremented by 1, then the process repeats, and the condition of I being less than or equal to 10 is checked again. In general, you should be using a for loop when the number of times needed to loop is known. For instance, you know you need to loop through an entire array. Finally, we'll cover how to make an infinite for loop. An infinite loop is a loop that never ends. To make an infinite for loop, then, you just need a for loop with no initialize step, no condition, and no modify step. So just put two semicolons in the for loop, and you'll have yourself an infinite loop. In Java, like in other languages, while loops continually run until condition is false. This while loop runs until I is greater than or equal to 10, meaning it stops running once the condition inside the parentheses becomes false. If I change this while loop to I greater than 10, then the while loop would never run because the initial condition isn't true to start the loop. For an infinite while loop, simply do while true. Then the code inside the while loop will never stop running. The main difference between while and for loops is to use while loops when you're not sure the number of times you need to loop. For instance, you're looping through an array until you find a negative number. You may or may not find a negative number in the array, so a while loop is more appropriate for a case like that. In Java, like in other languages, do while loops run once, then run until a condition in the parentheses is false. This do while loop runs once, and then runs until I is greater than or equal to 10, meaning it stops running once the condition inside the parentheses becomes false. If I change this do while loop to I greater than or equal to 10, you'll start to see the difference between do while and plain while. Java will still print out 0 since the loop runs at least once, but when it checks if I is greater than or equal to 10, it's not, so the loop stops executing.